Good evening, everyone. My name is Ronald Preston. I'm Chairman of the Zoning Board of Appeals for Town of Mount Pleasant, and welcome to this evening's meeting. Tonight, we have a four-member board, and just to explain the rules, if two of our members vote against your application, the application is denied. It's just for the record to let you know. Some of these applications, I don't think we're going to have a problem with. But let me explain to you how we conduct the meeting. When your application is called, I will read the application for the public record. I will swear you in, and then I will ask you some questions, and why the reason you need the variance, and things of that nature. When that's finished, I'll ask the members of the board if they have any questions, and you can respond to their questions. When that's completed, I will then ask if anyone present is for or against the application, or if there's a letter against the application. Once that's done, and we have instituted this new system, rather than waiting until the entire meeting is over, if there's no problem, then your application will be voted on and either approved or denied at that point. So, it's fair play. All right, now, we have a short evening this evening. The first one was a continuing application, was 24A. Julio Rizzo, I don't know if he's here today. Okay. So, 24-9, Molina was adjourned. So the next one is James W. Kane III. And this is the Zeiss Drive. Raise your right hand, please. Testimony you're about to give is the truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Kane, you are associated with what company?
Well, for the record, my name is James Karras. On behalf of Mr. Kane and Shelbourne Healthcare Development Group, JMC Site Development Consultants, we're the planners and engineers for this project.
Okay. So this is application 2411. The premise is located at 2 Zeiss Drive in Thornwood, New York. Is that correct?
That is correct, 2 Zeiss Drive.
And is designated on the tax map, Town of Mount Pleasant as 112.8-1-74. And the application is for a proposed zoning approvals sought for the location of a monument sign located on the southeast corner of Columbus Avenue and Zeiss Drive. And it's on a legal parcel of 10.45 acres. And you're looking to, and it's in an OB5 zone, and so what you're looking for is an application to erect a freestanding sign in accordance with law 176.8B. Okay?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Once again, for the record, my name is James Karras with JMC. We're here this evening to request an additional monument sign in association with an approved and under construction assisted living facility that you see behind you on the screen. I just want to give the board a brief overview of how we got here to contextualize this request a little bit more. So what we're looking at here is the approved site plan, which is under construction. The facility is at the top of the hill of Zeiss Drive, behind the Rose Hill Shopping Center. It's accessed off of the intersection of Columbus and Zeiss Drive. At the top of that, there's a new site driveway that leads to the new facility. There were 2 previously approved monument sign locations as part of the original 2019 site plan approvals. Those locations and those signage are not changing. They're not the subject of any of this review this evening. What we're asking for this evening is your consideration of a third monument sign location represented on this plan. It's a little bit hard to see at this scale, but in the blue box, which is on the southeast corner of the Columbus and Zeiss Drive intersection. What you're looking at here is an elevation of what the proposed signage would look like. It is a monument sign on the ground. It's approximately 8 feet wide, 5 feet high at its tallest. The base will be a stone veneer consistent with the stone installed on the building. The actual signage will be aluminum letterbox painted black with white acrylic lettering, brushed bronze accents with a cedar cap with solar LED downlighting underneath to illuminate the sign at night. This slide shows the approximate location of the proposed signage on the southeast corner of Zeiss and Columbus. You could see in red the representation of where the sign is proposed to be located. And then just some street view screenshots of the intersection just to give some idea of where it is. This is looking up Zeiss Drive from Columbus Avenue. Proposed signage is proposed to be located on the right-hand side of the picture here. This is looking southbound at the intersection at the corner where the proposed signage is to be located. Same thing looking northbound. Proposed signage would be on the right-hand side of the grassy median there. And then westbound coming down Zeiss Drive approaching the intersection of Columbus and Zeiss. So once again, we're just looking for your review and approval of the additional monument sign location. We have also made an application to the Architectural Review Board to review the look and content of that sign. But for your consideration this evening is just that location and the third sign.
Now, you said there were two signs. I know that when we visited the site on Saturday, you have the foundation for one sign at the entrance between you and Zeiss. That's number one. The second one is going to be where?
The second sign is proposed to replace the existing sign which only served the former Zeiss office building.
Now, this is the sign along Columbus Avenue?
Correct.
Now, we have, Chase Bank has a sign. There's a real estate sign, right, for lease, whoever that is.
That's the sign.
That's the sign.
Correct. It's covering what used to
Right,
be.
so that sign is going to be gone?
Correct.
Staying?
That it is proposed to be removed and replaced in the same location with.
Feedback. I have no objections to those two signs. And I won't say I have an objection to the third sign, but I have a question about that. When I come out of Rose Hill, a lot of times I'll go down Zeiss Drive to Columbus Avenue. And speed limit's 45. Nobody does 45. Why that part of Columbus Avenue is 45 miles an hour in front of the Columbus Elementary School when it's 30 miles an hour in front of the Valhalla High School is beyond comprehension. I'm worried about sight distance. I pull out my car. Several years ago, I got T-boned on Commerce in Frankfurt. You don't know where that is, but I know where it is. And every time I go past that intersection, I make the sign to cross, even though there were full stop signs and a red light. People don't stop. And so sight distance is very important to me. How far back off the street is that sign going to be?
So we did look at this with regard to that specific concern because we know people are going to be making a left-hand turn out of this driveway fairly frequently. They do have dedicated, there is a lane there for them to turn. The stop bar for that intersection is situated as such where our signage can be behind that, so that when people approach the intersection, they will stop at the stop bar and have ample sight distance to look to their left in front of the signage, meaning they're not going to be obstructed by the
I
monument.
can see the number 2 sign with no problem. You're coming down, you're heading north on Columbus Avenue. You'll see the sign in front of you. Now you want to put another sign on the other side of Zeiss Drive, which is why I don't know, it's sort of redundant. But the question is, again, you have two signs doing the same thing.
Well, let me clarify, though. The sign on the north side of the Columbus Avenue intersection will be exclusively for the office building tenants, and the sign on the south side, the one that we're considering this evening, will be exclusively for Shelbourne and their operator.
Okay, so that second
They will not be
sign
redundant.
is going to be relatively the same height as what you're proposing for the, because right now,
Correct.
that sign's, what, about 10 feet high?
That sign, that is more of, I guess it would be considered a pylon or a monument sign, but it's more of a pylon sign.
Right.
The proposed signage to replace it is lower to the ground. They're more monument sign. It's almost exactly representative of the public notice sign that's there now. It's,
Because to me, when you have a sign that says for lease, it should be a temporary sign, not a permanent sign. And my concern is, if that can come down, that's fine in height. But I'm not questioning your sign on the south side. I'm just questioning the location coming off, because I don't think there's a third lane. When you get to Zeiss Drive, there's a third lane after Zeiss Drive to get into the shopping center.
if, this is something we did look at, but if you would like to add an additional condition or additional request to review to ensure that adequate site distance is, ensured by the sign location.
You see, I have
That's something
no
we can-
question about
yes.
that. It's just the location. If
Yep.
that sign can be put back, let's say 30 feet off the street, just as an example, then as a car coming up to go on to Columbus Avenue, and you want to make a left, and it's a heavily trafficked road, at least you can see in both directions cars that are coming. When you have too many signs up, and you have blockage and inadequate sight distance, you're looking for problems. And that's the last thing in the world I want. And I think it's the last thing in the world you want.
100%. And
So if that sign can be moved back at a safe distance, I don't see a problem with it. It's just where it is. Okay. Mr. Chico, you got any questions?
No, sir.
No? Mr. Dorr?
No questions.
Ms. Lapatos?
Yeah, I just have a question about the prior site plan that you had submitted. I think you said it was approved back in 2019.
yes,
Originally, as you indicated, there had been a request, an indication that you planned to erect 2 signs for the property. Why wasn't a third sign contemplated in the original site plan?
so the original site plan contemplated the 2 signs, the one at the top of the interior site driveway that was exclusively for Shelbourne. The second one to replace the existing sign down at the bottom of the Zeiss Drive was proposed originally to be a shared sign, and now enter potential future operator, Benchmark Senior Living. They said, you know what, we're making a huge investment in the town. This is going to be a beautiful facility. It's going to be a great place for people to live. We really want our own signage. This facility needs its own signage. So they proposed, a third sign on the opposite corner exclusively for their use. So each tenant of these properties will have their own signage.
So in effect, you came to create the need for this variance because of, I don't want to say vanity, but it's vanity. A vanity desire to have a third sign, standalone, free and dedicated to only the new property. But there isn't actually a need for it that you've identified.
Well, we would state that there is a need for this sign just because of
And what would
the
that be?
operate. Yeah, come on up.
Good evening, Board.
Testimony about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
It is.
You are?
William Cook, Benchmark Senior Living. So we are going to be the operators of this community going forward. And there is actually, I know it sounds like that, but there is a legitimate reason. Part of it is, from this particular point, we really have there is no road visibility. So, we need to identify itself. And as the nature of our business, we're assisted living. Many of our residents are elderly, and, some people still drive. And as I heard the chairman say earlier, that road is, it's a pretty fast road. So we really need to be able to see and read the sign. So the other proposed sign was two signs on one, I guess, two properties on one sign.
Okay.
And that can be confusing to read. You're not sure which one it is, is it top, is it bottom, and you're gone. So that would be a legitimate reason that I would say.
And one I could understand readily. The only question that I would have is, how come that wasn't contemplated when you originally submitted your site plan then? I mean, those needs of the clientele that you anticipate having for the facility are the same clientele that were originally anticipated to occupy when the site plan was submitted. So how did this suddenly come to be realized 4 years after the site plan was originally submitted?
So the site plan was originally submitted under Shelbourne Development. So we were not involved at that time. We are going to be the operator going forward, so we were only involved over the last probably 12 months or so.
So you're smarter than the Shelbourne people. You anticipated something they didn't anticipate.
I'll take your word for it, yeah. Yeah, it's, we operate 65 communities throughout the Northeast. So, yeah, I think we might have looked at it, we have other communities that have similar issues of very small signs or multiple signs, and actually it's a common complaint from our residents. They're like, I drove by your building 4 times and I couldn't find it. So,
Okay.
yeah, so I think we were late to the game, and that's why we wouldn't have.
That explains it to my satisfaction. What kind of signage do you have? I think it's the old Spring Nursery property. I think it's in Greenberg, maybe the Edgemont area. Is there a Shelbourne?
I don't know. I'm Benchmark again, so we're operators moving forward. Shelbourne has, that's kind of the real estate end of it, so we have no involvement with that, so I don't know.
Do you have any knowledge of the signage there?
That facility is to be constructed. It's an approved.
What's contemplated there? A
Same thing.
freestanding, dedicated sign?
Correct. Yeah.
And for that exact purpose, to provide the
Yes.
residents with the ability to readily identify it from the road?
Yes, and that facility is approved but not yet constructed.
Okay. All right, thank you.
One quick question. How many residents are you going to have at this facility? Roughly?
Total unit counts is 100.
It's 100.
And then some of the units may be shared 2 bedrooms, so if you actually asked residents versus unit, about 110 maximum.
You figure a staff of how much?
Typically, overall total employees, it's about 100 people, but not all at one time, because we're obviously a 24/7 operation. So maximum staff during the day is about 30, and then it'll ramp down to 15 or so up to the later evening, and then 1 or 2 on the overnight.
The reason I say that, it's additional cars coming down Zeiss Drive. And that's one of the reasons that I'm concerned about the
Yeah, and I fully understand and hear your concern, and I'm going to trust our engineers and our traffic engineers that they have,
If it could be
positioned it
put
back.
close to the highway department building, when I say close, not on top of it, but within, say, about 20 feet of it, roughly. Then in this way, you have a clear vision coming down Columbus Avenue, you can see your sign. Coming from the north, you'll still see it, but it may be a little difficult to see because you have the Chase Bank sign and you're going to have your other new sign with tenants and so on, so that's going to block it somewhat. But even if it was up front, it's still going to be blocked. So it's actually a sign that you're going to see coming, heading north. That's basically what you're going to have. Right? But if you can do something like that, fine. I do want to do one thing. I want to read for the record the fact that you had mailed in, certified mail, the application back on the 27th of March. And the deadline was on April 1st, and you did show the mailings for it. but I just want to read this letter for the public record. It says, Chairman, President, Zoning Board of Appeals, re-item Z2411, James W. Kane III, owner of premises located at 2 Zeiss Drive in Thornwood, New York. Dear Chairperson, President, and members of the Zoning Board of Appeals, on behalf of Thornwood Realty LLC, the owner of the property located at 1 Zeiss Drive, Thornwood, New York, and identified as tax lot 112.8-1-73, we respectfully request that the Zoning Board of Appeals keep the public hearing open regarding application 2411. James W. Kane, owner, premises located at 2 Zeiss Drive, Thornwood. We have not received notice of the hearing in the mail and did not receive notice timely enough to appear at this evening's hearing. In addition, the applicant's property and our property, which is lot 73 and 74 respectively, are subject to a declaration recorded on January 2nd, 2020. The application submitted to the Zoning Board of Appeals is not a conformity with that declaration. We would like the opportunity to review the application and work with the applicant to ensure that both property owners' interests are addressed. Accordingly, we request that the hearing remains open. If you have any questions or if you require any further information, please contact Dina Kupka and telephone number and email address. So I think I don't know what to do at this point, whether we can ask for the public record. I can ask people out here for or against your application, which is fine. But the fact that Thornwood Realty is not represented here tonight, I don't know whether we should hold this over until the following meeting. I don't know. You still have to address the distance. And I don't know how the other board members feel on this.
Well, Mr. Chairman, certainly I could volunteer that it would be at the election of the applicant if they wish to have additional comment heard by the interested party and adjourn the meeting to a future date. But being that we have a record that the applicant did in fact comply with the mailing requirement, contrary to what's indicated in the interested party's letter, I don't believe that we're in a position to accommodate their request without the consent of the applicant. I think it's the applicant's right to have the hearing conducted this evening, and if there's no reason that the board can identify for the hearing to be held open, then we would be in a position to conclude the hearing this evening and make a determination. So I could put the question to the applicant as to whether or not they wish to have the hearing held open or whether they wish to proceed with a full hearing this evening.
Can I ask a couple of questions? When is your next meeting? So how long would this have to stay open for? May 9th, so a month. And then secondly, we were scheduled to be on the Architectural Review Board meeting, I think, next week, so next Thursday. Would that impact our ability to go, do we have to get through here first to go to that, or could we go to them and?
I think your ultimate site plan approval of the newly drafted, crafted plans would require that both the Architectural Review Board and this board complete its hearings before they could move forward with their action. But I don't believe that the Architectural Review Board is in any way impacted by our proceedings here, if that's your question.
Yeah,
That would be my question, because if then it's, if I have to wait for this for another month, then it could be another month out
the
there.
Architectural Review Board looks at the sign itself, okay, and not so much the location, except if it's on a building. But since it's a freestanding sign, they're more concerned about how it's going to look, whether you're going to have some lighting on it 24/7, or you're going to close it at 10 o'clock, whatever you're going to do. They'll look at that aspects of it.
I mean, are you familiar with the party, the interested party, they're
And-
apparently adjoining property owners?
Yep,
And
yep.
or the declaration that they speak of.
That one I am not.
Yeah, it's, the declaration is primarily a access and utility easement agreement between the two property owners because they share the access and there's shared utilities within that access. But
Well, do you want the opportunity to hear them raise any issues that they believe exist and enable the board to have the opportunity to hear that before we make a decision? But I still think it's at your election. You have the right to request that the hearing be held open, and you also have the right to ask that the board continue with the hearing this evening.
And unfortunately, I wish we had some further notice of this too, so we only found out
I
essentially.
just found out 5 minutes before the meeting started.
That's
I
so-
got the email.
Yeah, so we're, I think, well, talk about being put on the spot. I think that in the interest of the fact that we intend to be here for a long time, that we do have a neighbor next door who we do have a easement and shared property with, I do think it's, in the best interest of being a good neighbor to talk to them and give them the opportunity to review the plans with them. So I think in the interest of, again, being a good neighbor and getting off on a good start, I think I'd request that we adjourn the hearing. However, I would like to continue on through the architectural board, so I think that's.
We'll
Yeah, there's
keep the hearing open.
There's nothing stopping you from going
Okay.
before the Architecture Review Board.
Good.
As far as that process is concerned. And you can explain to the ARB that we have this one situation, and you mentioned this letter, and also that you want to determine a safer distance for the exact location of the sign. Because that's the two things
Yeah.
that we're looking at.
Okay.
And certainly, we could hear from any members of the public that wish to be heard this evening.
Yeah, that's what we're
Yep.
going to do next.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Is there anyone here for or against this application? Guess not. Okay, I'll see you gentlemen next month then.
Okay.
Also,
Well,
appreciate your position on this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's very good. Generous.
what we try to do on the zoning board is that when the building inspector says no, we try to work some form of accommodation where you can get a lot of what you want, but you'll never get 100% of what you want. Right? Nobody I always use the expression, no one leaves here with a full loaf of bread. Okay, you'll have some, maybe a half a pound of rye, maybe a quarter pound, but you will have something. So I think this is the right thing to do.
I
Okay.
appreciate it. Thank you very
All
much
right,
for your
no
time this
problem.
evening. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Thank you.
thank you, good night.
Sure. Next application is 2413, John Greco.
I don't know, can I do a site plan?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hi, my name is Kathy Burkhardt. This is John Greco.
Okay.
We represent, Mr. Greco has hired an architect.
Okay, let me first swear you in
I'm sorry,
first.
can you hear me?
Oh, it's okay. Television camera.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I hear you, it's okay. All right, raise your right hand, please. Testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, it is.
If the gentleman wishes to talk, he's welcome to speak also. This is regarding, I'm going to read for the public record. This is John V. Greco Jr., owner of the premises located at 202 Brookline Street in Hawthorne, New York. Is that correct? Okay. Which appeal is from a decision of the building inspector of the town of Mount Pleasant, and it's designated on the tax map. The town of Mount Pleasant is 112.13-2-32, and the application is a proposed two-story addition expansion with a garage area to an existing single-family dwelling. And you're in an R10 zone of 12,500 square feet of property. The front yard setback on Greenwich Street, 30 feet is required, existing 29.78 is existing, you're going to 2178, where you need an 8-foot 8.25-foot variance.
Yes.
Okay. On the front yard setback, which is Brookline, 30 feet required. Existing is 2985. You're proposing 2185, and again, an 8.5-foot variance. When we were out at the site on Saturday, there's, on Brookline, there is a paper street,
Correct.
and if I'm facing the front of the building, it's to my right.
Granite Street.
I know, well, my kids used to go down the slides in the winter.
That hill is great for,
Not me. My kids loved it. So basically, what you explained to me, it looks like you want to put a porch up in the front. And then on the side, it looks like you're trying to fill in some gaps in the property, in the house itself, from what I can see here. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah, we're expanding 8 feet off the southern part of the house. It's a,
I'm not worried about the front. Okay. I mean, you have the school playground in front of you. You got a paper street to your right if you're facing it. And basically, as this is going to be going straight up, or what are we going to do?
There's going to be, it's a ridge, a two-sided ridge, continuous, and then they're going to do it over the garage, with the elevations. Do you have the drawings?
Okay. If you got an elevation drawing, that'd be great.
Oh, sure, absolutely. Yeah, the intent, this has been in the family since 1953. There we go. That's the existing residence, and this is the intent, have gable, the garage, and carry the ridge over the existing house.
Most people downsize. You're doing the same thing I did. You're upsizing.
Well, Mr. Greco, this has been a family home since 1953, and his mother had it, he has it, and the intent is for him to give it to his son
It's in
and
the
a growing
family.
family. It's wonderful. We don't want him moving out. We want him staying here.
Well, it's a lovely town. Why do you want to
Absolutely.
move out?
Absolutely.
I've been in this town since 1972, okay?
Great.
And lived in the same house since. And we've expanded the house so that we can stay in the house, make it more accommodating to us. Now, I don't see any problems with what you're trying to do. In the past, usually people have a small colonial house, they want to put a little porch in the front so that when they open the door, the rain doesn't hit them. I have no problem with that. And where you're located and so on, I don't see any problem as far as I'm concerned, okay? Mr. DeChico, you got any questions?
I do, Mr. Chairman. The house, if you're looking at the front of your structure, front of your house to your left, so I guess the house that you're kind of behind, does that resident here, have you spoken with them? Have they expressed any opinion on
The
as to
house,
your project?
the property behind the house?
Or I guess the
That-
property which your house is behind?
My house is not
You're at the very end of the street, correct?
Right.
And then you're kind of like way up,
Oh,
way at the end, and there's a, if you're looking at your house, if you're looking at the front of your house and you look to your left, you're looking at the back of another house.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
That, is that person, have you spoken with them, if they've expressed any opinion on your project?
I told him that we were going to do some work on the house and probably expand it and go up and everything, and he said that was great.
So that's great, and you don't see them here tonight or anything like that? Complaining, you don't expect them here to complain or anything? Okay.
I mean, the sign has been up and they're out there every day, they, you know.
The reason why I ask is I always like to get a feeling about the neighbor who would potentially be most impacted, and it would seem to me that that would be the one person that would be most impacted, if at all, by your project. And if they don't have any standout issues, it bodes better for our view of the situation.
Well, he received the notifications, and we haven't heard anything.
Sure, okay.
And you had the sign, which is self-explanatory.
Exactly. Yep.
And I'm there every day, so, you know, there's no knock on the door, or no stopping this over to see me, so.
That's what I'm looking to do. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Dorr?
I have no questions, I just want to mark for the record, what was submitted on tonight's sheet is a typo compared to what's appropriately in the record. The second variance is saying that the variance requested is 8.5, it's actually 8.15. It's less of a variance than
Okay.
on this notice that's out there.
You're fine. The notices
I
that
mean,
went
you're
out were
fine.
fine, it's just the
notices
agenda.
are fine,
Fair enough,
it's just
okay.
the agenda is wrong.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Just for the record, if anybody's.
Thank you.
Ms. Lepatos?
Nothing, thank you.
Anyone here for or against this application? Obviously not.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we move to approve this application as submitted.
Okay, second by Mr. DeChico, Mr. Lepatos,
Aye.
and the chairman votes aye, carried 4-0. Congratulations.
Thank you
Now
so
the
much.
fun begins.
So we have to go to the ARB next?
No,
Nope,
Good.
not for residential.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for your time.
you're welcome. Here, take your,
Yeah, why don't you take your time?
thank you.
Thank you for bringing them.
I have it. I'm gonna hold it back.
All right, the next application is 24-15, Chris Battaglia. Good evening.
Good evening.
Raise your right hand. Testimony about to give is the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Sure, yes.
And you are?
Jonathan Villani, representing Annunziata Villani Design Consultants,
Okay. And you're located where?
in 10 County Center Road, White Plains, New York, 10607.
All right, this is Mr. Battaglia's premises located at 25 Wall Street in Valhalla, New York, which appeal is for a decision of the building inspector of the town of Mount Pleasant. It's designated on the tax map as 117.10-2-40. The application is for a proposed two-story addition to an existing single-family dwelling on a legal substandard parcel. Substandard has only to do with size, has nothing to do with anything else. 7,500 square foot in the R5A zone. And there are two variances that you're looking for. Front yard setback, 30 feet required, existing is 19.64. Proposing 19.64, and the variance is 1036. And the rear yard setback on Wall Street, because it's a corner lot, 30 feet required, you got 1948, you're proposing 19.48 or 10.52.
Correct.
Okay.
So we're representing, my firm represents the Battaglia residents at 25 Wall Street. They're presently looking to expand the house due to they have a young family that's growing, one on the way. We're looking to put a second-story addition on the house. The existing setbacks are already, they're existing. We're just increasing the nonconformity vertically, not horizontally. So we're not proposing to encroach upon these setbacks that are already present on the existing house. We're just putting the second story, so the increased nonconformity due to the height is creating this variance. So the footprint of the house is actually remaining the same except for a small vestibule bump out at the front of the house, but it's not expanding the current setbacks.
Right. When we were out there on Saturday to inspect the property, pretty well enclosed between the fence and the shed and everything else. So you can only go one direction.
That's the only only way you can go.
I have no problem with that, because it's a corner lot. It's going, if it does anything, 267B, we say, does it have an effect, is it self-created? That's number one. 99% of these things are self-created. Does it have an effect on the community? Yes, it does. Is it good or is it bad? In this case, I think it's good. We're seeing a lot of people, rather than move out or do this, they're taking their homes and they're modernizing, let's use that, expanding it so that they can stay within the community, and that's important.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I personally don't see any problem with this. Mr. DeChico, do you have any questions?
No, Mr. Chairman, I'm familiar with the neighborhood, the house, and
Okay.
I think I do have a question. Have you spoken to the neighbors? Have they provided any opinion on your project, one or the other?
No, we had the sign out and we sent the mailings.
Okay, and they haven't come to you, you haven't heard any,
No negative feedback, no.
thank you.
Mr. Dorr?
The only thing I have is, I mean, I'm fine with it going up and everything else, is that on the plans and also on the site visit, there's a wood shed, so looking at the house to the left,
Correct,
that appears to be right on the property line.
correct. It's already existing, yeah.
Shed has a CR.
It has a secret.
Yep.
Answers my question.
I have no questions, Mr. Chairman.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, sorry, Kurt? Oh, it's okay. Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve application Z-24-15 based upon testimony submitted and based upon the plan submitted. Oh, I'm sorry.
I can't see from
I
here.
was jumping the gun there. Usually
Is there anyone here for or against the application? The lady in the back,
I apologize, I didn't see that.
sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I renew my motion that we approve the application based upon the plan submitted and the testimony.
Okay, do I have a second? Second by Mr. Dorr. Mr. Lepatos?
Aye.
Chairman votes aye, carried forward.
Thank you very much.
All right, no problem.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion, we adjourn the meeting.
The first one, no?
No show.
Not here?
Nope, no show.
It's not her?
No.
All right, so, Mr. Chairman, I would,
Before we close the meeting, what are we doing with the first
adjourn it
application?
to the next meeting. That would be.
That's all you can do. We can get a determination from them what their action is going to be.
Well, whatever the pleasure of the chairman is, but certainly without any communication from them, one could assume that they've decided not to add anything further to the record and that the hearing on that application be
I would leave
closed.
the application, we can say it's closed for
I'm not saying that we should. All I'm saying is that we would certainly be empowered to do so based upon the lack of communication from the party, but
Have you heard anything on this?
no.
What we can do is just table it, period, and just say, we did not receive any information regarding this application.
And
We-
we don't have a future date for it. It's held in
this time.
abeyance. Well, I mean, with the record that we have, no communication from the applicant to indicate their desire to have the matter heard on a different date. I'm almost, or
I would
continuing to add
suggest-
to the record.
yeah, my personal feeling would be that we close that, and we can't say we're going to deny the application, right?
No, we have
just
evidence
close it.
that we've taken during a previous hearing.
Non-performance. I don't know what word to use.
Well, we can,
Well, I think we could vote on it, if we wanted to. I think we have the ability to do so. We've had a public hearing. We've had testimony. We could close, we could
Adjourn it to the following, based on them getting more info that they would like to get.
I would agree that we can do that. My position would be that we should close the public hearing, hold the record open for any submissions by the applicant or anybody else, and close the matter for decision only. And then make a determination at the next hearing.
Because we did ask them certain questions in the last meeting, and they said that they were gonna go back, do some research and come back to us.
Sure.
So based on that, I tend to agree with Nick that we close the public hearing and just leave it for a decision based on any future.
Fine, then let's do that then.
you want an
We'll do that.
application to do
Do I have a
that?
motion
So
to
I
make?
make a motion to close the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by George Lepatos. Mr. DeChico's aye. Chairman says aye, carried 4-0.
Now I'll go back to my next motion.
Motion to adjourn. Okay.
Second.
Before that,
Second, and we get two over there.
okay.
All right. Good.
Hit the switch.
Oh, yes, that's it. Used to do it.